Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. Right before you is actress, model, and television personality Miss Tracy Bingham. Tracy was fairly popular in the latter part of the 1990s. But before we get into that and her scandals and controversy, we're going to start from the very beginning. See, Tracy Bingham was a cute girl who was born in North Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's actually a small, nice place. And Mrs. Bingham had bigger aspirations to succeed far and away from North Cambridge. Now, she is the youngest of 7 children. And apparently she had a fairly normal, decent child life. The earlier portrait that you seen was her with her sister. This is her with her brother. She comes from a large family, as I mentioned. She's the youngest of 7. And Tracy rose to prominence on a show called Baywatch. I'm sure that many of you have heard of Baywatch. It ran from 1989 to 1999. Tracy joined the cast of Baywatch in 1998 till about 1999. Correction. She joined the cast in 1996 to 1998. She was on there for 2 years. Now, Tracy came about joining the cast because there was a lot of controversy on this particular show. And the controversy was, why wasn't any of the lifeguards in the bikinis, who are the sex symbols, the attractive people, so to speak, why weren't they at least a person of color? So with that controversy, the producers ended up hiring a black female, and they ended up hiring a Hispanic male. Tracy Bingham being hired as Jordan Tate, and Jose Solano being hired as a lifeguard there. Now, Tracy, at that particular time, this was a very big deal. It made big news because at that time, Baywatch was the most watched show in the world. At its peak, it had like 1 billion viewers. So I remember when the news about her casting came out. And believe me, it was far and wide. It was a big thing. And she was an it girl. I would not say the it girl. She was an it girl for about a 2-year period. But with this fame and notoriety came some controversy and scandal. And we're going to see that everything on the beach, all that glitter really isn't gold. Because Tracy had some problems that many people would say were self-created. So let's get into some of the scandal here. Tracy loved the fact that people had complimented her by saying, "You look like Pamela Anderson." Now, you can take it how you want that. I think that some people may see that as a compliment, others may not. But we're dealing with Tracy Bingham. She did see it as a compliment. And she even started to transform her appearance, so to speak, to resemble that of Pamela Anderson. And she even did things emulated Pamela Anderson's early career moves, such as posing for Playboy. And she did this on a couple of occasions that she was featured throughout the magazine, just like her idol. And she had no problem pretty much displaying her body. Okay, more power to her. And we're going to talk about the body because when she first started on Baywatch, she was a great size. Everything was in proportion for her frame. Then, as we go along a little farther, things start to morph to a little bit out there, a little bit exaggerated. But let's get into some more controversy. See, Tracy Bingham started off as a very cute girl. Actually, she was pretty. She was pretty before the surgeries happened. That's common in Hollywood. We're not here to do a hit piece on her. We're here to tell the truth. And what I'm going to speak today will be the truth. See, because I have one foot in Hollywood and I do hear things and I try to verify things. So what I'm telling you today will be the truth. Now, if you can remember, in the early days of Baywatch, there was some controversy because Tracy, who is black, claimed to be something else. Now, I'm showing a tombstone here for a reason because Tracy made claims that she was biracial or mixed, and that mixture being with Italian, primarily Italian. The latter on, it was added with Indian. This is what she claimed. But understand that when you make claims like that, you can upset some people who know you. And what happened is that people did some digging. And when they did some digging, they were able to unearth, so to speak, death certificates and birth certificates. Now, this is a picture of her father, one of the only ones that I've seen that she's ever posted. I mean, she's never posted any pics with her mother, and she's never posted any pics with her and her father, which is very strange. But, and here's what I'm talking about. People started to dig, they started to investigate, they started to look into these claims. And claims of being mixture or an admixture with Italian and Indian, it wasn't verified. It wasn't anything that people can find documented proof. And as a result of this right then and there, see, here we go right there, and you can clearly see that her father's race, it says Negro. But they checked back into his father, and they found that it was all Negro or black. They checked back with her mother, and her mother's mother, and her mother's mother, and they found that they were all black. So I think that Tracy was trying to pull another Prince. Prince claimed that he was black and Italian. Both of his parents are black. Grandparents are black. He made a claim that it made him look more, or seem to be more interesting. I don't know what her claim is. If she thought that it would make her look more interesting, more appealing, or maybe she's ashamed of being just black. But people spoke on this. And this may be talking about her looks. This is really sad. She was absolutely beautiful. This is why we need positive representation and to constantly tell our black women that they are beautiful. I 100% agree with that. True statement there. Maybe she did not have a lot of positive influences growing up. Thank God I have grown to love myself. I am flawed, but I know that I am physically beautiful. And there's so much beauty within me. I hope all black women come to realize and embrace themselves. So this seems to be talking about the surgeries that some have speculated that Tracy has had over the years. So obviously this is physical. So let's move forward. Now we're going to get into the whole racial aspect. Okay, she had a really bad case of racial dysmorphia. I remember correctly, she didn't want to be identified with any type of African ancestry. I think at one time she was saying she was Filipina, an Indian, like from East Asia. I'm not surprised she looks like this. She looks. I'm not going to say that last part, but yeah, I remember the part that I don't recall her saying Filipina. I remember her saying that she was mixed with Italian. primarily, and then later on some other mixture Indian was added. So people caught that and people called her out on that. Yeah, I remember back in the day, she would claim to be every racial mix except for black. She's always been pathetic. I don't know about that. And she's not even pretty anymore. Okay, that's kind of harsh right then and there. I think she's still very attractive. But I want to talk about the racial aspect and dynamic. I'm not going to talk about anyone's look per se. I do think that she's gone way too far with that. But is she ugly? No, I don't believe that. Is she pathetic? I wouldn't say that. By the way, this is not really a hit piece on Tracy Bingham. This is just telling the truth. And this is going to be a cautionary tale. Here she is with a white man. So you can clearly see by these photos right here that Tracy has a type. However, if we go for today, being in today, what is that, September the 1st, 2022? She's single. She's a single woman. So Tracy had this type that apparently things just did not really work out. And I guess it's okay if you have that particular type, but I just think that if you're a black female, you should not pursue that type. I believe that you should allow men, any man for that matter of fact, to pursue you. But this did not work out very well for Tracy. Now, she was married to Rob Villar for a couple of years, and that marriage disintegrated. So I just think that you have to be very careful. And I'm wondering if she's saying that she's this admixture in the very beginning because she thought that that made her more appealing to others. Maybe she's thinking that if I can get away somehow from being black, that others, i.e. white men, will find me more attractive. But no, they don't. Because what I find with white people in general, that when they are into black people, they prefer the black experience. They are not really into black people who are ambiguous looking. They don't hold mixture to a high standard the way that the black community does. White people tend to be into black people who are identifiable as being black. Now here's this whole comparison of Pamela Anderson, which I believed kind of ruined her career. It didn't really help for you to try to go out there and to be a black version of Pamela Anderson. Where did that get you now? Here we are 20, 25 years later. Pretty much, what have you done? Besides Baywatch. I mean, you've been on a lot of things, a lot of things, a lot of, reality shows. Nothing wrong with that. Hell's Kitchen, Surreal Life, Celebrity Big Brother, Fear Factor. Pretty much playing yourself. People, always strive to be the best version of you. Do not try to strive to be someone else. Do not strive to emulate someone else. Be you. Be the best version that you can be. Be an original. Now, I put a picture of Patrick Muldoon here because there's an incident that happened with Tracy Bingham at an Oscar after party. What happened is this here. She was not invited to the Academy Awards that particular year. Many stars on TV are not. So basically, I guess you watch them from home or from a ballroom like many of us do. And she ventured out to an after party. At this Oscar after party, she had on this beautiful emerald green dress. Absolutely gorgeous. So upon entering the after party, she stopped at the sidelines to sign autographs. As she walked up the stairs to go enter in, she found out that her name was not on the invitees list. So she tried to pull I'm Tracy Bingham. I'm on Baywatch. It didn't work. They were not buying it. So they turned her away. All dressed up, nowhere to go. Patrick hears a funny story because as she was being turned away, he was driving to this particular place too to see if he can get in. When he seen that Tracy Bingham was turned away, he was in his vehicle, he made a U-turn and hightailed it out of there. I guess he did not want to be embarrassed like she was. That's why his picture's there. Now, all of this stating that I'm mixed, I'm biracial. Wrong move, baby. I would have told Tracy, I had some experience with Hollywood, managing people. I would have told Tracy to embrace your blackness. You should have embraced being a black female in Hollywood. Get away from the weaves, which was the weaves back then. Wigs today is what they're wearing. I could have pictured her being a modern day version of Pamela Greer had she would not have been allergic to wearing afros. Had she would have just stated that I'm a black female. I'm a proud black female. I love being a black woman. I could have really pictured her being a kick-ass version of today. Back then, of Pam Grier. She could have gone that particular route. But what was she stuck on? Being a black version, not even black, but being some type of a version, an ambiguous version of Pamela Anderson. And that just did not work. Now, another thing too, Tracy Bingham has never formed any type of friendship or camaraderies with black actresses in Hollywood. You see Halle Berry to the left? Halle Berry pretty much knows all the black actresses in Hollywood. All of them. She has friendships. She has camaraderies. It's about sisterhood. It's about forming, cliques, so to speak. Not a mean girl in a mean girl way. But Tracy should have put herself out there. That was a big mistake that her agents or managers failed to make. She should have been, going to the Lady of Essence Awards multiple times at the BET Awards. Black award shows are far and plenty. She should have been a staple there. But here you have someone who's ashamed of being black, who's running away from being black. By the way, when you're making claims that you are biracial and you are not, you are ashamed of being black. I guess to some people there's there is this stigma that they tend to believe that's associated with black people, and they want to get away from that. And maybe they believe too wrongly that for certain types of men it makes them more attractive, but that's not the case at all. Now, here's another bit of scandal. This is a copy of an arrest warrant. An arrest warrant was issued for Tracy because she had agreed to be in an XXX film. I've heard two versions of this. You take your pick. I'm not quite sure what is true or what's not true, but I'll tell it to you. I heard that it was supposed to be a little sucky, and some guy was supposed to spattle on her chest. I don't know if that's true. Then I'm hearing it's supposed to be something explicit where she was to show everything, legs wide open. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know which of those is true, but it was XXX. And what happened was that she took the $30,000 and bailed. And what ended up happening was that she got sued. An arrest warrant was issued. And she was ordered to pay back like $130,000 for wasting their time. And she was supposed to be in a film for hotchicks.com. I guess it's some type of X-rated site, which tells me that she must be low on cash. Because if you're going to agree to be in some type of X-rated movie and you take $30,000 and you bail, you must be in some type of financial hardship. Okay, here we go again. She billed herself as being Pamela Anderson. Remember that. And today right now, she's making claims that people have told her that she looks like J-Lo. Wow, she went from Pamela Anderson to believing that she looks like J-Lo. Girl, what's wrong with being yourself? Really. And here, right here, she's making claims that people have told her that she looks like Jennifer Lopez. I don't know. I can kind of see it in a way, but that's not really a good idea. It really isn't. You're placing your self-esteem or putting your self-esteem into people telling you that first and foremost, in the beginning, you look like Pamela Anderson. Now you're making claims that you look like J-Lo, and you're happy to run with that. It shows me that she does have difficulty with being a black woman. So where's Tracy Bingham at today? Here she is today, with photos that are heavily censored, that are heavily, I mean, we're talking about filtered out. They're heavily filtered with this light that she's using to hide something. Is she hiding wrinkles? Is she hiding bad surgery? Is she hiding maybe she doesn't have the money to get the proper surgery? She's hiding something. And here she is at nearly 60, still relying on the sex symbol thing. It's almost like once a sex bomb, always a sex bomb. She's going to go off that particular way. At near 60, it looks kind of ridiculous. It looks kind of desperate. It's not a cute look at all. For you to be stuck in a time warp, a 25-year time warp. This is something that she did 25 years ago. Here, in her Baywatch days, she did this. Here she is today, still doing this. This is pretty pathetic. It's pretty pitiful. So, let me just give you a little more tea on her. She was living above her means. The 2 years that she was on Baywatch, she was known to live above her means. She had very expensive taste. Bad thing if you're on a show that's only going to last 2 years. I would advise people to wait until residuals kick in. Wait until the show or you have been on there for like a 5-year period. After you've been on there a 5-year period where you're guaranteed residuals, then you can start living the big life, the high life. But after 2 years, no, I think you're jumping the gun. And when the bloodbath hit, when they asked everyone, I mean, pretty much the whole cast got asked, she went into the producer's room, the producer's office, and pretty much was frantic. And she was frantic about getting her job back. She was wondering, is there any way that they can reconsider and not cut her character? No, she ended up on the cutting room floor like half the cast then. It was called the Baywatch Bloodbath. And so, where's Tracy at today? Here she is right now. In some pictures she claimed that she looked like Jennifer Lopez, Pamela Anderson. To me, right here, she looks like Wendy Williams. Once again, she's using a heavily filtered to kind of like hide her true face, identity, I want to say. What is she not proud of? Geez, there's just so much here. Let's touch on another scandal when she was on Baywatch, and it's about the hair. Now, pretty much black folks, we can tell that she had on, a weave back then. Back then, it was a weave. Pretty much today, black women have switched off to wearing wigs. But she, remember, she was claiming to be black and Italian. So I guess that a hair company seen all this so-called beautiful, luxurious hair. So they contacted her people. They wanted her to represent their product. They agreed to. She shows up there. And the stylist starts going through her hair. And the stylist notices tracks in it. And she goes, "This is not real. I thought you said this was your real hair." And in true Tracy Bingham style, she goes, "Why does it matter? Why does it matter?" And she was asked to leave. Game over. That was the end of that, promotion for that particular product. They didn't go with that. That's a true story right there. And unfortunately, she got this reputation as known as being the laughing stock of Hollywood, which I think is pretty sad because she seems like a very nice lady. She really does. But I just think that somewhere along the way, way before Hollywood, through racial identity crisis, she got a little lost. She really did. And then another scandal about the dine and dash, not having enough money on her credit card to really pay for certain things. Then they claim that she was arrested. I don't know about that, but the dine and dash, yeah. Yeah, so, it's almost like, I don't know who her managers were, agents were. I don't know what the circumstances of her mental capacity, sort of health was. But I just think that she could have been better guided, in my opinion. Okay, so here where we're at with Tracy Bingham today. At nearly 60 years old, she's advertising on social media that she's single, that she's a free woman, that she's available. Why would any woman have to do this? Baby girl, you don't have to do this. No female should ever do this. Any man who's interested in you, he's going to come after you. You don't need to advertise yourself. You don't need to be this desperate and this dire need. You don't need to be this hard up for a man, female, anyone. Anyone. This is truly sad to see this. For someone to be in a state like this. People, I made this video not to bash her. To all these upcoming actors, actresses, whoever you may be, if you are black, be proud to be black. Don't deny who you are. Embrace being black. To get up there and say that you're biracial and you're not. To try to pass yourself off as being mixed and you're not. That's somehow being ashamed of your parents, of your grandparents. That's somehow speaking badly to your ancestors. This is almost like an ancestral disruption. You really have to think, for her to be a black woman, your ancestors suffered a great deal for you to be there. They suffered a lot for you to be present. For you to just deny them for a machine like Hollywood. For what? Where did it get you? Look at where it's got you right now. Being desperate, being lonely, crying for attention. At nearly 60 years old, advertising that somehow I'm single, I'm available. Pick me, pick me. Where did all this stuff about being half Italian, some Indian, all this mixture and being biracial get you? Look at where it's got you. The most pathetic state that anyone can be in. Still crying and craving for attention from others. Now, is it too late for her to make amends? Absolutely not. Because black people, we are a very forgiving people. And it's not like she did anything egregious. What she needs to do, if I were to advise her, 55, embrace being black. Maybe you want to say, publicly speak. At times I weren't proud to be black. That was my fault, my mistake. I'm embracing it right now. You need to speak that into the universe. You need to let the ancestors hear that. Because this notion, you're letting it hang over your head earlier about this Italian mixture that is probably way back when. By the way, people, I'm not denying that there's some ancestry there. I have some German ancestry there. But that's not enough for me to constitute, I would say, a mixture. I'm not mixed, definitely not biracial. That little 7% or 9% German ancestry, okay, that's I'm still black. Majority of me, my genetic DNA is black, African American, whatever you want to call it, sub-Saharan African. But the point is that we got to be very careful about subjecting ourselves to self-curses, being ashamed of our past and our lineage. Because as we see, and I've seen with many people who do this stuff to self-denial, it's almost like self-destruction. It doesn't lead to anything good. The outcome pretty much is always dire straits, pretty much bad luck. And by the way, if she were to really, cover up some, be a little more modest for her age, maybe start wearing her own hair, maybe someone like Tyler Perry would pick her up. Maybe she can be on a running series. It's definitely not too late, but I do think that she has some amending to do. And I do think that she needs to change her whole outlook pretty much. But it's not too late for her. It really isn't. But saying that, I wish her the best. I really do. I do believe that Deep inside, she's a nice lady. And I do not think that she means the black community any harm. I think these are self esteem issues that she's dealing with, internalized issues that she's going to have to overcome. And hopefully she will, people. Hopefully she will. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Sin Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all beyond and through.